fissures between Pakistan and Iran have grown after the mutual airstrikes that were conducted by both the countries in each other's territories. The two nations, however, were eager to find a compromise after their leaders agreed to a de-escalation situation, as they call it. Pakistan, as we know, can ill afford to enter another war, this time on its western front. It has already been consumed by the long battle with India along the LOC. There is a recent conflict with Afghanistan, the Baloch rebellion, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa conflict, the fight for freedom by the residents of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, not to mention the terrorism problem it faces within the territory that has killed civilians, Chinese nationals, it has targeted Chinese projects and infrastructure in Pakistan. It has created an environment of fear amongst its citizens. And to add to it, the economic devastation and political uncertainty only makes Pakistan further vulnerable. It will also not be wrong to conclude that the counter-airstrike conducted by Pakistan military right ahead of the general elections in the country was an attempt at chest-thumping exercise to influence the public sentiment for votes. Iran, on the other hand, has been making a strong show of force from waging a proxy war against US and Israel. It has been supporting its terror allies in the form of Hezbollah, Hamas and the Houthis. It wishes to avoid direct military confrontation with the US or Israel, but is willing to use its proxies instead. When Iran engages with a war with Pakistan, it is sure to attract American counterattack by way of United States of America coming out in support of Pakistan, its traditional protege, to target Iran. So the question arises, what is it that Iran has tried to achieve by bombing Pakistan? Why does it appear that both the warring sides are so eager to reconcile after attempts of mutual destruction along the border? Was this just a show of force by Iran? Does this help Iran assert its hegemony in the region? Let's start this conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Ambassador Suresh Goyal. Quickly, a response from you, Ambassador. Amidst all these conjectures that can be drawn and the very confounding reason that may have pushed Iran to target Pakistan.
Megha, you have put me in a spot here because I thought that I'll come in second or third after benefiting from the wisdom from Dr. Wael Abad, who knows the region so well. However, since you have put me in the spot, let me now really try and see if I can get out of it. Now, the point really here is that Iran could not afford to give an impression that when people are attacked on its own soil, just like the USA does, that when people are attacked on its own soil, it will keep quiet. Because if you look at the power dynamics in the region, besides Saudi Arabia, for various reasons, Iran is the other power. And traditionally, historically, you look at all the power contests in the region, it has been Persia, Saudi Arabia, Persia, Arabs, empires, Ottoman Empire, traditionally. And therefore, since Iran could not afford to give that impression, it was natural to assume that in response to the attack during Ramadan on its own soil, it would take some action. Now, the organization in Pakistan has been rumored to be supported, and I think you mentioned it yourself, has been rumored to have support of the American government, American organization agencies, and therefore it was assumed that the attack by Jaish Al-ADL during Ramadan could have been instigated by the Americans. Iran attacked it knowing fully well that it could actually provoke an American reaction. But on the other hand, USA being engaged now in a very wider war in the region, Red Sea, Yemen, Houthis, Hezbollah, you name it. I think the calculation was that USA would also really exercise caution and would not directly or indirectly take matters to a point where where the war could actually expand further in the region. At the same time, Iran cannot afford to really expand the war. And therefore, eventually, after having shown that yes, it will not keep quiet after those attacks, and Pakistan having retaliated, I think, at the instigation of its own brothers across the Pacific, uh, it was assumed, I was quite certain that eventually they will talk to each other and try and basically bury the matters in the sand wherever they can find it. But it is not a quiet.
Okay.
Basically, the situation being what it is, anything can again light up the fire. So we have to watch it, and we just hope that wisdom will prevail on both sides and they will not expand the war nearer to this area and will really remain where it is. That's all I would say for the time being.
Okay.
And
Okay.
after this, I benefit from the words from Dr. Abad.
Okay. Okay, so Dr. Abbas, you heard it from the ambassador, and obviously the pointed question, the fact that there was escalation on the border between Iran and Pakistan, and it was swiftly de-escalated. And again, then gives us a point of, I don't know, concern, an understanding, a deeper understanding for the reason this escalation was initiated by Iran at the first place.
Oh, thank you, Mega, and thank you, Ambassador Suresh. He has already answered the question, but in a different way. I just wanted to start from where he ended by saying that Balochistan as such in Pakistan have been the ground for so many terrorist organizations, and the northern part of Pakistan have been active ever since the jihadist culture in Afghanistan in the early 70s, where we saw the American have been supporting Al-Qaeda and Taliban that time went to double the USSR, etc. And then after that, they continued till the end of the war was over. And then the Americans stayed, then they kept follow after Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden. But the remaining jihadist organization stayed back in Afghanistan as well as in Pakistan. So Pakistan has been having a coalition with the United States and a couple of countries to attack these tribal belt area, and they have been doing activity. The problem here is that the Americans have been unilaterally, selectively fighting terrorism, only those terrorist groups which was causing harm to the American, but they left the rest of the groups which caused no harm to them. That's why they showed the activity. So therefore, this has been for decades between Pakistan and Iran. There was skirmish at the border, attack from the side of the Iranian into the Pakistani territories and all. So the Balochi people in both three countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran, have been suffering at the hand of the people there because they have been denied their right, equal sharing of the sources and all. So they left the vacuum open for a vested interested nation to help these secessionist movement, asking for independence from Pakistan and then followed by Iran and Afghanistan. So this is one of the angles one has to see it, Mega. And I think what happened at this time, it was not the Pakistani who initiated this attack. It was the CIA and the Mossad, who is quite active now, not only inside northern part of Iraq, not only in the northern eastern part of Syria, or not only in Azerbaijan, but even inside Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Okay, okay. But Dr. Abad, the fact that there has been an escalation, the point of contention over here, or the pretext under which there have been these airstrikes that have been conducted by Iran over the attacks that it needs to make on the terrorists that have attacked Iranian civilians in the past, we come to the larger concern over here over the proxy war up until now being waged by Iran in West Asia versus a direct call for belligerence from the Iranians, because here there could be a strong possibility and a conclusion be drawn that the Americans might use Pakistan as proxy to attack Iran.
See, Mega, I think what we can't call it a proxy because Iran did not initiate the war on the Palestinians by the Israelis. They never initiated the war against Syria by the Israelis, nor against the Lebanese. So, therefore, to speak of a proxy is more of talking of that they are giving the cause of these wars on Iran. The problem is that there is an axis of resistance which extended from Iran to Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine, where the people have been fighting American and Israeli hegemony. That's we have to accept it.
Okay.
And the American, on the other hand, trying to promote an axis where they can accommodate Israel, Abraham Accord, from the other side, where they wanted to destroy this axis. So they have been sabotage against the Iranian, no doubt about it. But everybody knows that Iran have been supporting, even inside Syria, they have been supporting Lebanon. But there is an occupation. That's a different story. We cannot see it in isolation of this incident between Pakistan and Iran. Should not be looked from the prism of Israel-Hamas war. This is one of the issues. But what I'm trying to explain here is the important point is that Iran has been subjected to all covert operation to destabilize Iran from within, because they felt that Iran is the prime behind all these issues in the Middle East, in West Asia, in the Bab al-Mandeb, supporting Ansarullah Houthis in Yemen. But take the larger picture. It's a conflict of interest between the United States and the West, and China on the other hand. So there is a militarization of the Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and the Arabians.
Okay. All right. An interesting analysis. And Major General Dwivedi, quickly coming to you, as has been said by Dr. Awad, in terms of the counter strikes from the Iranians, whether it is in Syria, Iraq, and there have been a number of targets that have been hit by Iran, which are the US bases. And time and again, this two countries coming to a point of friction. And like I said, the proxy wars that are being waged in West Asia. How is this also coming across as an attempt by Iran to assert its hegemony, its power in the region?
Well, Megha, firstly, I follow the region very closely because as a professor of West Asia, I teach this subject in the universities. So I'll give you a very brief and very cogent picture as to what exactly is happening in this region. First and foremost, West Asia strategically is a very important region, and it has been contested at two levels. One is by the superpowers. Superpowers had immense interest, and during the Cold War also, it has been contested, and both these superpowers have been trying to influence, and now the Chinese are very much in the game. And secondly, within the region, there are three important players: Saudi Arabia, being a Sunni country, Iran, Shia, and then there are other powers like Egypt and Turkey who have vested interest. Now, coming closer to home, since 1979, Iran has been virtually isolated after the revolution, and therefore they have been largely actually cornered by especially American and Western countries. Now, Iran has followed a policy that they do not want to confront the superpowers directly. They have used it as proxy. And secondly, as Professor Abad brought out about the axis of resistance, now they call it as a forward defense policy, whereas they are trying to defend their interest in the region. Now, coming specifically to Pakistan and Iran, well, they are neighbors, share a border of about 960 kilometers. Despite their ideological and political differences, they have been having functional relationship, somewhat managing the differences. Now, of late, what has happened is that Iran has felt that these, especially Jaish Al-ADL, they have been crossing the red lines. And therefore, when they went in for strike into Pakistan, this was unprecedented and somewhat surprised because skirmishes on the border have been going on, but this was a very bold action.
Okay.
And to that extent, just 1 minute, to that extent, they wanted to give a message not only to Pakistan, but to others like Israel, US, that should they be pushed to corner further, they will retaliate. And second important point was that this was retaliation for Pakistan was quite expected. They always do that. they react very quickly. And I would say this was a kind of a friendly match, 1-1 score, and now they are back into the diplomatic game because they have more to lose if they confront each other, and they have more to gain in case they cooperate. So the diplomatic pile is on. I think the game is back into the somewhat the functional relationship they always have
Okay.
enjoyed.
Okay, all right. Sumit, again a response from you amid the escalation and the latest one in the western front of Pakistan. Is there likelihood of a further escalation, or is this the end of it? Exchange of barbs on both the sides, and an attempted move by the Iranians for their dominance in the region, and a short message that has gone out to the United States and its allies.
Megha ji, thanks for having me on your show. Kindly allow me a minute more today. You see, the story starts from when Nadeem Anjum and Asim Munir jointly traveled to United States of America. They meet Anthony Blinken, they meet O'Donnell, they meet Victoria Nuland. I have been pointing on various media channels. They are up to something because Nadeem Anjum and Asim Munir do not travel together. That is not the protocol. When they come back, suddenly, there is this increased activity which is happening. And now, it is Qasem Soleimani's death anniversary. There are 150 people there. The only group who could strike inside Iran in that is a Zoroastrian area where they could strike was on the death of the Qasem Soleimani was this Jaish Al-ADL. Jaish Al-ADL was decimated 2010. It comes from Al-Qaeda Zandullah group, and Righi was, I think Abdul Salam Righi was heading it. He was assassinated in 2010. From 2010, Pakistan's ISI has been keeping this group alive. They did the strike, and after that, they tried to run away. You remember there was the ISIS Khorasan pose that we did it. I am telling you, no, it is Jaish Al-ADL who did it because they're the only one who had the capability to go inside Iran and do it. So Americans were rubbing salt on Iran because Americans were tired of proxy wars. They cannot handle those people coming in dinghies and attacking $1 billion aircraft carrier. America is not capable of handling that. What they wanted to rub salt on Iran, provoke Iran to come out in open and destroy Iran. Look, there are 200 ships in Persian Gulf and Red Sea today. We are talking 200 military ships. American nuclear submarines are there. America surrounded Iran with its, bases. But Americans cannot fight these jihadis and, these people coming in boats. They're not capable and they're not trained for that. So they used Pakistan to do the dirty job. Now, Pakistan is the only Islamic country where you can launch attack against any other Islamic country. Pakistan is a hired gun. They can do jihad for anybody if you have the right amount. What Pakistan can do for America, neither they can do from Saudi airbase, neither they can do from Qatari airbase. So Pakistanis did what they had to do. They tried to create a facade that it is ISIS-K, but we all know it is Zandullah. It is this group, Al-ADL, which had done it. So Iran, when you rub salt on Khomeini, on his right-hand man, you go at his death anniversary and kill 150 people, they exactly know where it is going. Now, if you look at the village was run by Pakistan. There were 250 houses there, which is handling around 1,000 jihadis which were trained. Iran has released a video of that. There's a full-fledged village run by this. So Iran retaliates, and kills around 150 people. Now, Pakistan had to do something. It fired 7 missiles. 6 fell on civilian areas, 1 fell on some military asset, and there are 7 people which are reported to be killed. Now, the problem with Pakistan is with all the troubles mounting and, with no ammunition to fight, they have to pull people from the Indian border. They have Taliban, they have Tehrik-e-Jihad, they have Islamist resistance, they have Pakistani Taliban, they have Afghani Taliban, they have Balochis, they have Sindhis, they have Pathans. Who will they fight? So what they have been pleading and telling them, "Bhai, please do not fight. We had to do this as a ceremonial thing. We did it. We did not send missiles to do. We don't want to kill your people. We cannot fight. Pakistan has 2-3 years of ammunition." Remember at, World Economic Forum, Iranian foreign minister handed over a file to Kakkad. Kakkad looked at the file and kept it in his bag. So there was a last warning. When Kakkad did not pay heed, the Iranis pressed the button. Now, the problem here is Khomeini is at the helm of affairs. Yesterday or day before yesterday, meeting was not headed by Mr. Raisi or the foreign minister or the defense minister. It is Khomeini who is calling the car shots. The attack on American assets in Iraq and Syria was directly ordered by Khomeini because Islamic Revolutionary Guard directly comes under Khomeini. And Qasem Soleimani was his right-hand man who was eliminated by Americans. This attack was again called by Khomeini directly. Now, if Khomeini is at the helm of affairs and Iran is a country which has tendencies of taking revenge and even going into suicidal modes. Now, it depends on the whims and fancies of that man, what he wants to do. Tell me if if they would have been an inclination, would a foreign minister of Iran meet the prime minister of Pakistan, shake hands and do a photo ops? They will not do it. Diplomatic, nobody will do it. Even foreign minister did not have an idea that if at meeting fails, what will happen next. It is Khomeini who's calling the shots. With Khomeini calling the shots, they can do anything, but Pakistanis will beg, they will plead, wo पैरों में लेट जाएंगे, please do not do anything, we don't have money, we don't have ammunition, we can't do anything. But if Americans give the money,
fair enough, but like I said, Pakistan being used as an American puppet. It's a proxy over here. So, but then again, the point coming back to you, Ambassador Goel, would be that is this war going to further escalate? From a cold war, is it going to become a hot war? And what is going to be the fate of the Iranians? And can the US at this point in time afford to do this? Simply because there are elections that are at this point of time impending.
The point is that Biden is contesting an election which actually at the moment seems to be a losing battle as far as Trump is concerned. And therefore, if Biden has to come back, just like any seasoned politician, he's going to look for a success which actually can turn the battle around. And that success can come basically if he's able to show some major results in the region, the Middle East region, the West Asia region. Now, obviously, he cannot show any such results as far as Israel and Gaza is concerned. Israel is not listening to them at all. Israel has clearly said that the two-state solution is not acceptable to them at all. And they're going ahead with this, really. So where do they go? My fear really is that they will once again begin to use Pakistan as a proxy actively in the war against Iran. And when that happens, we are in trouble, because Pakistan will use the weapons, same weapons, which or the material that they are getting to basically use against Iran. And for them, the first enemy is India, really. So we are again going to become part, which is actually again ridden by this kind of conflicts.
That's an important point that you make. Interesting analysis of it, Dr. Awad. So what's the solution? This is at the end of the day an ego battle that is playing out. Who is going to blink first? Whether it is about the Israel-Gaza conflict that is taking place, or we talk about the repercussions that have been seen from the Hezbollah side or from the Houthi side, and then a sort of a ceasefire that has been agreed upon by Iran and Pakistan right now. But the major contention being over here, who is in the right, who is in the wrong, whether there can be an agreement that can be signed between the Hamas and Israel for letting go of the hostages, and whether Hamas is going to agree to a ceasefire only after Israel comes to terms with it and then release its hostages, and how does this play out, because none of the parties here are looking to step back.
Well, I think Iran has, for the last 300 years, had no problem with any neighbors. And everybody, you can know the history, there is nothing of the Iranian attacking anywhere. Ever since the Israelis' creation has been taking in the Middle East, we have seen all this conflict and all this firing and fighting with the Israelis. It's Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq. Everybody has been fighting for the cause of the Palestinian and for the independent Palestine, whether it is a coexistence with Israel or not. The only Iran has been the watchdog of the American till 1979. The Shah of Iran was the American puppet, and when the revolution has come, the things changed. They replaced the embassy of Israel by the embassy of Palestine in Tehran, and that is where the crisis started. So they are using Palestine as an excuse to rally behind them the Muslim world that the Al-Aqsa Mosque is in danger. But I think there is no peace in the West Asia if the Palestinian issue has not been solved, its occupation is not ended, if there is no two-state solution. And we are, unlike Mr. Netanyahu, who is saying that he will not accept any Palestinian state. So we do not have to blame it on Hamas, we have to blame it on the right-wing fascists inside Israel who are refusing even to sit across the table or adopt or accept the UN Security Council resolution in these regards. So there has to be peace in the Middle East. Nowhere in the world anybody can afford the war. Now, it's not a regional war between Russia and Ukraine. It's not a regional war between Pakistan or Iran. It is a global war because you have the Persian Gulf, you have the Bab el-Mandeb, you have the Suez Canal, you have 15% to 20% of the world trade is passing from here. You have more than 1/3 of the containers in the world passing. More than 30% of the oil is crossing. Can the world afford another war in this region? I think the international community, including the United States and the superpowers, they should sit down across the table and ensure that peace and stability in this region is of a prime importance. And India, at the end, is a very much the stakeholder in this region, have the food security, the oil security, and the diaspora security. It's of a prime importance. So nobody should be prepared for any sort of a war that has been imposed in this region. Stop interfering and mingling in the internal affairs of each country.
Okay. Major General Dwivedi, then when we take a look at Israel in isolation and the commentary that is coming in from Netanyahu and the United States of America, where Netanyahu talking about no reason for talk, no reason for ceding to a two-state theory, and where you have the Americans speaking about until Netanyahu is in power, this solution cannot be put into execution. Is there a likelihood, perhaps a finality in the term of Netanyahu coming to an end? The fact that he is most definitely going to lose the election after this war ends. And therefore, when you have the prolonging of the war, also suits Netanyahu in this domestic narrative that he's trying to build. Major General Dwivedi.
Yeah, I lost your last bit of conversation, but I have got the sense of your question. Well, Mega, first and foremost, we need to understand that Palestinian issue started as a Palestinian-Israeli issue, then it took the shape of Arab-Israeli issue, then it was back into the Palestinian because most of the Arabs struck a deal with Israel after Camp David. But currently what it stands now, though it is primarily Palestinian-Israeli issue, but once again, a lot of Arab nations are involved either directly or indirectly. Second point is, Israel won all the 4 wars, were 48, 56, 97, 73, and even 1982 Bekaa Valley operation, but they could not win peace. So Israelis know that through war, they have not been able to get peace. Therefore, peace can only come once the Palestinian issue is resolved. And Palestinian issue can be resolved only when we accept the reality of two-nation theory. I think any sane Israeli would accept it, but as long as Netanyahu is around, he has taken a very hardline stand, and I think his days are numbered. Once Netanyahu goes, with the American pressure and also within the inner dynamics of Israel, possibly two-nation theory would actually take shape, and that will see some bit of peace returning to West Asia. But 3 other factors are very important. First and foremost is intra-Arab conflict. Secondly is the superpowers, China, Russia, and American interest in West Asia. And third, of course, are the people of West Asia. And I think Professor Badaiti brought up that India has very high stakes. For us, the region is very important from its energy, from diaspora, and also from our trade and communication. Therefore, we hope that peace comes and two-nation proposal takes shape in the near future.
Okay.
Megha.
Quickly then, Sumit, before I wrap this up, I have only just a couple of minutes left. The reason for India to be fearful of this war escalating into the Arabian Sea is, and this has already happened because one of these merchant vessels that were hit by the Houthi drones was actually traversing through the western coast of Gujarat in the Arabian Sea. So if the war escalates, unlike what is happening in Ukraine and Russia, it directly is going to impact. So even if India is not wanting to be part of it, it is going to be forced to be part of it.
You see, Meghaji, it's very simple. We don't war. We're a peace-loving country. But if the war is thrusted on us, we have to fight our war. It's as simple as that. If Houthis think they can attack our vessels and we will be doing nothing, they are living in a fool's paradise. And if there is one person in Iran Khomeini. He thinks he can hold the world peace at his, whims and fancies. For him, it's a soup of the day. Aaj kya karna? What will Rajiv do? Unless and until Iran finds a way to settle Khomeini and the legitimate government of Raisi Saab and others, these politicians start running. It's a fight in Iran. Is the government run by a mullah, or are the politicians going to run the government? As long as that mullah is in control and he has the control of the Iran's Revolutionary Guard and all the missile systems of Iran, he can bring war to the world at the brink of, a second. How do you control this man who is always threatening the peace? How do you control this man who is always threatening war? How do you control a person who has Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Al-Halali, Houthis, all kinds of proxies he is running? How can you trust a person who is saying that Israel has to be wiped out from the world map? How can you trust an organization like Hamas who says till that time every Yahud is not killed, there will be no Qayamat? I mean, it is easy to talk about Israel, and has the two-state solution worked for India and Pakistan? Who is your most arch rival? Pakistan. You gave them land, you gave them money, but they have come 4 times for Kashmir.
Okay.
And even a week today, they will come again. So these things are easier talked than done when a country is in an existential crisis. When somebody is saying, I will wipe you out from planet Earth, what do you expect to talk? Peace?
Okay, all right. Aggression being seen from both sides. Who's going to blink first? Can there be a solution that is mutually acceptable to both the sides? At this point, we are not really sure of that. How long does this war continue in West Asia is a question that cannot be answered. Only observations can be done with a wait and watch situation and how things play out. But India's role over here is going to be crucial, keeping in mind that we need to protect, safeguard our interests, our borders.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.